Welcome to the Worthy Writers Podcast. I'm your host, Kirsten McNeil, confidence and writing lifestyle coach and full-service book editor working with self-published writers in fiction and memoir. This podcast empowers writers to embrace their sunflower sunshine as you write for yourself and share your work with unapologetic confidence and purpose. If you enjoy what you hear, leave a review and share with your friends. Let's jump in. Hello, worthy writers. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Kirsten, and today I'm here with Laurie Deveau. We're going to talk about her writing experiences and just share positivity and encouragement. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you write?
Well, as Kristen said, my name is Laurie Deveau, and currently I mostly enjoy writing historical fiction. I do have another novel that I have in the works that would be more so in the fantasy genre, but I enjoy lots of different books to read, and kind of dabble in a little bit of everything. But I guess if I could pinpoint one main thing, the historical fiction is seems to be my jam.
So how did you get started as a writer? Is it something you've always known that you wanted to do, or did you find it later in life? What was that like for you?
Well, actually, I started writing from an early age. In elementary school, I remember, I think I was in grade 4, and they had a contest for poetry, and I had wrote a long form poem about spring and the things that I liked about it. And I actually won out of the entire school. So I guess my writing started back then. I've always enjoyed English and English literature, and I've always been a huge reader. But then, kind of fast forward to we started our family, had our kids, and all kinds of writing projects sort of went to the wayside. And then fast forward again, and our kids are now young adults and pretty independent. So, just in the last year or so, I've picked back up on some writing ideas and scripts and things that I started sort of in between the years, like when the kids were younger, as they progressed through elementary and got into junior high. There were spurts of times that I picked up writing again, and ideas would come to me, and then I'd be like, oh, this would be a fantastic book idea. I need to write this down. And also, several of the book ideas that I have came to me in the form of dreams. So, the book I'm currently working on, the ideas came to me in a dream, and I woke up in the morning from this dream, and everything was so vivid and fresh. And I just almost had like a quickening. I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, but I had it like a quickening inside me, and it was just like, I need to grab the paper and a pen and write down every idea and everything that I just experienced in this dream, and then I feel like I need to turn it into a novel. So, nothing super exciting, but just, we all have our unique ways, and none is wrong. That's kind of where I am now. So, just trying to pick up those projects that I had got the ideas from years ago about, and see them into fruition and completion. So that's basically where I'm at. So it's exciting, but right now it's to find the time to balance work life and other, extracurricular activities, and also finding the time to be able to sit down and at the laptop and write. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of writers can relate to the finding the time thing because it would be nice to just write 24/7, but we either have kids or jobs or other hobbies we love, and it's just hard to find the balance where you just can do everything that you love all the time.
right, right. Absolutely. I think it's one of the biggest challenges, is especially when I find for myself that when I get really busy, even if it's fun things, when I get really busy, it takes up my time that could be used towards creativity, or getting sort of in that quiet space and sitting down and sort of letting the creativity run, so to speak. Because you can fill your day with all kinds of fun things, but then be so tired at the end of the day from, doing all those things you'd enjoyed, that you don't have the space left to sit down and work on your current work in progress. So So yeah, it's definitely to find the balance is a challenge. Right now anyway, it's a busy time of year.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I know for me, I've been trying to get used to writing as even if it's a little pocket of time, just writing when I can, just because I have this mentality of like, if I can't write for like 2 or 3 hours at a time, like I can't write at all. And it's kind of that all or nothing mentality that I want to get out of. So just trying to find that, okay, I got 5 minutes, let's, write a paragraph or something like that, right?
Right. And that's really good, actually. That's a good mindset to have because you're right. Like you get in that little rut of like, oh, if I can't sit down for the whole evening and finish a chapter, then no, I cannot devote any time to writing right now. So that's actually a really good point and definitely a mindset that should be rewritten for us to be able to work towards our project that we're trying to complete. So
Hmm.
that's a good point. I like that.
Do you find that you have a specific routine that you need to get into the writing session, or you just kind of go for it?
Well, I find not really a routine, but I find most of the times where I can sit down and be my best is when I'm home alone and the house is really quiet. So, like, everyone's gone, the dog's sleeping, the kids aren't home, the husband's, out, with the tractor or something, like doing something. That to me, I find is I wouldn't call it a routine, but it's usually when I'm home alone and I can just sit down and the house, like I said, is very quiet. And then it's like from there I can find my little zen zone and continue the writing and just the creativity flows. I guess I wouldn't call that a routine, but an opportunity, an
Mm. Yeah.
opportunity. So that seems to work the best, but it doesn't always happen. We do have a cottage not far from our house that I could go down there and do some writing, which I've been meaning to do. But lately, life's been a little too hectic and busy to even get down there and do any. So that's kind of a plan B for seeing this current book into completion. So
Yeah, that's good you know what works for you, because I know there's kind of like 2 camps of people where, like, some people just need complete silence and, like, by themselves, where other people need, like, working at a coffee shop or, with somebody else in the house or something like that. It's so interesting how we have these differences, but I think you and I are pretty similar with the environment we need and
yeah,
stuff like that, right?
yeah, I kind of need that quiet space just to tap into the creativity or just to I don't know, like, if I feel like if there's outside noise or people are coming and going or things like that, I feel like it's distracting. And then I have to reset, and then I'll be like, "Okay, I was writing this paragraph," and then I'm like, "Okay, what was I just thinking there?" And, I have to pause and then, go back and sort of rewrite or rethink, and yeah, it's much, much easier when things are quiet and the house is empty or I'm in a quiet space and it's just myself. I feel like that's the
Mhm.
best for my personal writing preferences.
With the, type of stories that you write, do you find that you do a lot of prep work first, whether it's, like, research or plotting, or what's your process usually like?
Well, usually it starts with an idea, or sometimes too, I feel like some things were sparked by something interesting I saw, like an old historical castle, let's say, or a certain picture of scenery, or a live like a beautiful set of beaches with like cliffs in the distance and it was sunset and then it's like, oh, like this would make a really really neat backdrop for da 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 da. So like I feel like I'll usually visually something will spark in me by seeing something visual and then I'll go through like I'll go from there and then I'll be like, okay, if I was doing a story based on this scene setting, what would it be? What would the characters be like? What do I envision them doing in this scene and how would the story play out? So I sort of go off, yeah, visionary things, like I said, dreams, a lot of right brain functions. I guess,
Mhm.
which is all our creative sides anyway. But yeah, a lot of visual and dreams and like or even like I may have a little like a vision about like a thought, like thoughts that come and put a vision about something in my head and then it's like, "Oh, that would be really neat." And then I'll start researching based on those visions or thoughts that come into my head after that. So that's kind of mine. Just yeah, just all through creativity, basically. I don't know how everyone else, tends to be in that way, but that's the way it seems to be for me. So
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing if you're just focusing on what your process is and what's working best for you. I know there's so much advice that you can take out there from about writing, whether it's books or the experts that you see on the social media, and everyone has something to say, but it's just like, what's going to work for you? That's what's going to work best, right?
right, right. And I think it's important to note, like, and this is more like just being supportive of everybody and just, everybody has their own unique style. Nothing is right or wrong. Like, we're unique individuals. And I think everything, we all have something to offer. Like, I feel like, and I've said this to different people before, like the earth, if we picture it like a large puzzle, and each of us has our own little creative like piece that we add to help make up that whole thing. So, and everything that we can present or have to bring to the table is very unique to be shared. So, I think we can never underestimate what we have to offer and what we have to give out there with our uniqueness to others. And it's all important.
Yeah, this is why I love talking to you because we always have such similar thought processes about creativity and writers and just being able to support them in that way and find that encouragement. Because I think with creatives especially, there's always like that mentality of like some people do it as a hobby, sure, but the people that try to like make it full time, there's always that wall that you come up against when people are like, oh yeah, maybe you should, focus on something else too. It's just kind of like a little hobby, but it's nice to be part of a community of writers that, you can really lift each other up, right?
Yeah, it's very important. It's important to encourage others in everything that they do and also to realize I was talking to somebody just about this today, and it's like, at what point are you considered a writer? If you've completed a book or if you haven't, it doesn't matter like what stage in the writing process you're at. If you're a writer, you're a writer. If it's in you, it's in you. And don't ever undermine any little thing you did. If it's only that you wrote some beautiful cards to somebody, or you sent some really nice letters, or even writing emails, or a little poem, like anything, it's all part of creativity and writing, and it's all important and it should all be supported. I think if you're a writer, and it doesn't matter what you're writing. It doesn't matter if you have 100 books out there that you've published or you haven't published any yet. You're still you're still a writer. You're still considered an author. So I think it's important just to support everybody.
Yeah, and I think it just depends on how you want to define yourself, right? And one of my favorite analogies or comparisons to make is just like when you drop your kids off at school, you don't stop being a parent. So just like if you don't write for a day or two, you don't stop being a writer. Those are things that are just in you and they're part of your identity. It's not like a one day you are, one day you're not. If you choose to be this, this is who you are, right?
Exactly. Yes, I agree.
So what would you say is your favorite thing about the stories you're hoping to get into soon?
I think I'd say my favorite thing would be coming up with something that I feel like is fairly unique, and just seeing something that just started with one little vision or one little dream, and then going through the creative process and making it into a story. I think that in itself is just like the whole birthing of it is pretty amazing. Like that's exciting. Like I'm excited to say the end and then, see what it's all about. Yeah, that I would say is the most exciting part. Like something that, and I think we can all relate to these points as authors, something that you've started, and then as you continue to go through it and your creativity flows and you come through the story, and then it's like, wow, like it's just, I don't know, it's pretty amazing because it's very unique to yourself. So I think that's really neat. And that's, I would say, the most exciting part.
Hmm. I love that. One thing that I've heard from a lot of writers recently, especially newer writers, are like, they'll ask me if oh, do you think my story idea is good enough? Or like, should I really be writing this? So like, I want to get your thoughts on that. And like, if you have advice to writers who are just like, I don't know if I should be writing this story, like, what should I do? That kind of thing.
I think of course they should. I don't even think they should ask if the story is good or not because it's their unique imprint that they're trying to bring to the table. I mean, sometimes it's sometimes some of the genres out there are so repetitive, it's like someone's got to come up with something new. Like, you know what I mean? There can only be so much of this and so much of that. Like, so you never know, you never know what you're going to bring to the table. But again, each of us are individuals. Each of us as individuals are very unique. And what we can bring and offer is incredible, and there's always somebody that's going to enjoy what you're writing. Not everybody's going to, but somebody is. There was a quote that I read and it was, someday you're going to be somebody's favorite author. And like that, that can ring true for every single author or writer. So, I feel like it's just to be confident in what you're doing, your choices, and don't even think, is this good enough or is my idea good enough? Yes, of course it is. It's an idea. And you know what? Finish it, even if it's just for yourself, your family, or just to say you did it. Like, it's okay. Like, it's perfectly fine. And everybody has something to bring. And I think that just always has to be recognized. And we always have to be confident in saying, yes, this is what I'm doing. And may not be for everybody, but it has a place. I think everybody something has a place, so that's kinda how I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like that you said that, you're not going to be for everybody, because if you are trying to please all these people, then you kind of lose why you started writing for yourself in the first place, right?
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. It's about something that you wanna create, an idea you had, and then you wanna see it to completion, and that's really all that matters, and then you go from there.
Since you've been writing for so long, have you ever struggled with like kind of hiding your writer identity from people? That like I know for some writers, like it's hard to talk about it with like the people that are closest to them, and they just kind of want to keep it to themselves. Like, what's your experience been like with that?
I mean, I haven't told a ton of people that I write that are in my family, like those kind of my immediate family and some of my very closest friends, like I've told, and of course they're supportive. But in all reality, your family and those closest to you are going to be supportive anyway. And if they aren't for whatever strange reason, don't let that undermine what you've done or what you've accomplished. Pat yourself on the back and say, "Hey, like I did something. I accomplished something. I did this. I wanted to do it and I did." Like I said, if for some reason those closest to you were not supportive, you can't let that hold you down because you almost have to do it for your inner self, like something you want to do and a goals and tasks that you wanted to complete, and then you want to see that to fulfillment. So basically, I would say it's really a personal preference whether you want to tell people that are close to you or not. Like tell a bunch of people, but don't. I feel like don't let judgment get you down, and try to stay on top of realizing the reasons that you wanted to do this in the first place and then see it to completion. And you know what? If there's people that are judgmental or say things, kind of let it be like water off a duck's back. Let it slide off. There's always gonna be people that are gonna probably say things against us and what we do, or most of the time I feel like the people around you are going to be supportive and say, good job and be proud of you. So be proud of yourself. Like when I when I complete my book, I'm going to be proud of myself. I don't care if anybody else is. I'm going to be proud. I'll be like, man, I'm proud. Like I finally saw this to completion. Like that's amazing. Like good job. So I think that's kind of the mindset we have to have.
hmm Do you know how you're going to celebrate when you finish your book?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to think about that one and let you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Should
I think
throw yourself
just
a big party or something, especially if it's your first book, right? You want to make it
yeah.
a good occasion, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I have to think about that one.
Yeah, so do you think that writing is gonna be something that you end up doing full time, or what's kind of your vision for what your writing life looks like?
I would love for writing to be my full-time career or, or thing that I have more time to do and do more of. Obviously, I've gone through the phase of or the season. I say everything's in seasons. Like I've already gone through the season of raising our kids. I was a stay-at-home mom for a number of years, almost 10 years. I was home raising our kids, and we have two wonderful young adults now. And now, like, that they're independent and basically, they don't need me rearing them anymore. It's like I'm in the next season of life. So, as I get older and closer to retirement age, it's something I definitely would like to do more and have more time to do because I think, I don't know, like, I kind of have this little, like, dreamy notion, like, oh, it'd be nice to have, like, this many hours a day to just set aside to, being creative and writing and have a little writing room and just kind of do things a little more leisurely and have just not such a rushed pace. That'd be great. But
Mhm.
that's kind of, I guess, where I see myself in a few years, hopefully. But we'll
Mm.
see. We'll see what goes on.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I love that perspective you have because I think it's really important to remember that, like, whatever season you're in of your life right now, like, it's not gonna be the same way forever for the rest of your life, right? Everything's always evolving and changing, so it's just kind of being open to those possibilities, right?
Yes, absolutely. Everything is for a season. That's what I always say. Like, doesn't matter like what age you are or, what you're going through or what you've been through. Everything's for a season. Nothing lasts forever and everything's always evolving. So, and we always have to look forward. We can't live in the past. We look forward and we continue to change and adapt as we transition through each season. I think that's so important to be open-minded, to be transitional and to always be forward thinking. I think those things are very important. And of course too, I always say this, it's important to think about what you're thinking about. Where the mind goes, the body follows. So it's very important to stay positive and like I said, the forward thinking and just always trying to be in mindsets that help set you up for success. And I know that's easier said than done. Sometimes we struggle. Like personally, sometimes I find in the winter, like I'm not always at my best. It's dark a lot, and I get a little slow and a little low, like sometimes and I have to push myself a little more. But it's just important to always keep going and to keep that forward thinking going so that we don't remain stagnant, but we move forward into the creativity that we're destined to do.
Is there something specific that helps keep your motivation when you're in low times and keep up that confidence?
I try to do things that are good for my soul. So, and I know that's different for everybody. For me, I have a huge like connection with nature and the outdoors. If I get enough woods and fresh air and spending time with my horse, I like horseback riding. And the last few nights I've been out riding my horse on the trails in the woods, and I really, really enjoy it. And it's such a connection, and like to things that I enjoy. And I feel like and those are just examples of things that I like, but I feel like when you're doing things you enjoy and that are good for your soul and you have those good like endorphins and those feel good feelings, it helps you be remain more positive and it keeps you out of those low times or helps dig you out of them, I find. But for me, fresh air and nature are just those are huge. It's very grounding for me and it almost give me a reset if I need it. So so things that are good for your soul. It could be anything from a spa day to or going for a massage or going for a walk on the beach, quiet time with a warm blanket and coffee and watching your favorite Netflix show. Like it could be anything, but just the things that are good for your soul. When you take the time and make the time to do those things for yourself, I feel like that really, really helps a lot. It really helps me. That's kind of my saving grace to get through when I have those times that are just a little bit low.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say music and reading are those things for me, just something that can turn my brain off, kind of focus on something else for a while and just, not focus on all the the stress of daily life and just kind of have fun and remember why you want to be a writer and all that good stuff, right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So important.
Yeah, so as we start to wrap things up here, is there any final words of advice you want to share?
I guess I could say, like, just in everything, just be yourself. Never be afraid to be yourself. Don't compare yourself to other people, other authors, writers, anything. Like, don't do a comparison. Like, just be yourself and be proud of what you have to offer. And don't ever underestimate, like, what that is, or what you could bring to the table and what new ideas and things out there you could bring that could bring other people enjoyment. So try to keep confident. Try not to fall into the worrisome areas, or what if they don't like what I'm doing, or what if my book's a flop, or what if I can't do it, or those kind of things. Like, just never be afraid to be unique, be yourself, and be proud of what you're doing, no matter what it is, no matter how small. One day at a time, one step at a time. No matter what you've done, just keep moving forward and be proud of where you are while you're on your way to where you're going, even if you haven't got to the end yet.
I love that. Yeah, so if people want to connect with you, continue a conversation, where can they find you?
They can find me on the Facebook group, The Worthy Writers Nook. I am on
Mhm.
there, and I love to help encourage others and meet new people. And yeah, so I'm here if anyone wants to connect or chat. Certainly send me a message, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, Laurie, and sharing all your thoughts and wisdom. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to the Worthy Writers Podcast. Did you enjoy this episode? Leave a review, then subscribe to the Worthy Writers Confidence newsletter for stories from my life and tips on building a desirable writing journey. Ready to be a guest on the podcast? Contact me through my website. My link tree is in the show notes with all the places we can connect. Welcome to my community. Happy writing, Worthy Writers!